Hello friends, and Happy New Year! In 2026, the gaming industry is gearing up for one of its most ambitious years yet, and there are a lot of games on the horizon. But from those games, which ones are going to own the entire year? Which ones are more likely to fail? And which ones are just going to be just yet another game in your library? This is part 1 of my take on the biggest games coming out in 2026, straight from the mind of a game producer. Let's dig in. The first one on the list is Resident Evil Requiem. Scheduled to be released in February 27, 2026, this game is probably the horror game of the entire year. In Requiem, we return to where it all began, Raccoon City, and take on the role of a new protagonist, Grace Ashcroft. The game also continues the formula of the recent games, not remakes, with the big emphasis on classical survival horror through combat, investigation, and resource management. Also, gameplay allows you to freely switch between first and third person views to face the horrors in a way that suits your playstyle. So, how likely it is to succeed and make a real impact? I would say probably 8 out of 10. This game is very likely to have both good reviews and multi-million sales. Small hot take: Resident Evil Requiem could be the point of a new era for the entire franchise. Most of the recent games has been showing a clear upward trend in quality and commercial performance. But there is always a chance of missteps when it comes to pacing or structure, as there has been mixed feedback when the game leans too much into action or horror aspects. All in all, with the current trajectory and the anticipation, the game is definitely going to be more a hit than a miss. Next one on the list is World of Warcraft Midnight. While this is not exactly a new game, every WoW expansion is a big deal, especially since it is a second chapter of the World Soul saga, if you care about those sorts of things. I figured it should be on the list as I personally got into the current expansion last year for the first time since Lich King and had quite a good time playing it. The biggest thing to be introduced is player housing, your personal home in Azeroth. Each player will be given a house that you can decorate, change layouts, and share with other players. And that's aside from all the other content. Sounds like a good time to get back into WoW for a few months if you ask me. So, is it likely to succeed? I would give it a 7 out of 10. On one hand, we have a housing system that's been crucial for high player retention and strong community engagement for games like Final Fantasy XIV and Elder Scrolls Online. And Blizzard has been very vocal about this being one of the most important expansions in 10 years. But MMOs in general is a slowly declining segment of video games, at least in my opinion. And the last decade was quite troubling for WoW, with BFA and Shadowlands almost killing the game entirely. My hot take on this is that nobody cares about the storyline anymore, and people are just waiting to see if the housing truly becomes foundational or not. I think that would be a true measure of success for this expansion. Also, quick thing, if you don't know who I am, my name is Alex, I'm a game producer and I'm here to help you get caught up on everything that's going on in the video game industry. Next is 007 First Light. If you're a fan of various recent Hitman games, James Bond and/or Patrick Gibson, this game will be just for you. With IO Interactive aiming for this game to be the beginning of the new series, it already looks amazing. Maybe it's me being biased after rewatching so many 007 movies, but the driving, the shooting, and the humor already looks great. As a player, I'm very interested in seeing what kind of game it is going to turn out to be. But if I'm being honest, I would put the success chances of this game at 6 out of 10. Bond is a strong IP and IO Interactive has a solid track record with nothing overwhelmingly good or bad, but stealth games like this tend to have a commercial ceiling, even when both critics and players love them. It's just not everyone's cup of tea. And the hot take is that this game has a better chance of succeeding by being more like Hitman 4 in a tux than with a narrative or action. And now let's talk about the biggest elephant in a room, GTA 6. This game is probably the biggest release of 2026 and one of the most expensive games ever produced, at least by some accounts. We still haven't seen any official gameplay footage, but the amount of buzz that this game generates every time there is even a slight detail being shared is just mind-blowing. Needless to say, it's almost impossible for this game to be anything but a huge success. With that said, I would put the odds at 9 out of 10. But why? Well, mostly because there are still a few unknowns in this equation. Don't get me wrong, the overall popularity of the IP and the smashing records on all the trailers almost guarantee massive sales. But when it comes to universal praise, well, I'm not so sure. Mainly because we still don't know much about the live service economy of this game and any potential technical issues that more and more titles are facing during launch, even the AAA ones. My hot take is that this game might become just too big to love. While hype is overwhelming, if anything goes wrong with the monetization strategy or the game feels too grindy, there is a good chance that the community will resent the game for it. And what's, in your opinion, makes a good game? Being a huge commercial success or being universally praised by both critics and players? Or both? Let's talk about it in the comments. Going forward is the blood of the Dawnwalker. Ever since I saw the original trailer, damn, I was hooked. I was a little bit disappointed when the combat was showcased, as I'm not a huge fan of this type of directional combat similar to Kingdom Come and other games like this. But that's just my opinion as a player. Still, the story looks absolutely thrilling, and I'm sure people who previously worked in CD Projekt Red on The Witcher 3 know how to make a good dark fantasy game. So I'm looking forward to seeing more. With that said, I think the game like this, it's always a coin toss. So I'm putting the odds of success at 5 out of 10. Because it's a new IP and a new studio in an already crowded niche, it's unlikely that this game is going to be a mass market title. But the interest is already above average, and there are a lot of very experienced people at Rebel Wolf Studios. And Bandai Namco is a very big publisher. So, all in all, I think there is a good chance for the studio to build a strong foundation for future games and to get some success, just maybe not top 3 bestsellers of all times. And the last one on the list of part 1 is Gears of War E-Day. While I still haven't played a lot of Gears of War games, E-Day's premise and trailer looks absolutely fantastic. I love the idea of prequels for game franchises like this. The developers still haven't shared any gameplay footage, but I'm sure it's going to be as brutal and gory as the previous games and the trailer. But I would probably put the odds of success for this game at 6 out of 10, with IP doing most of the heavy lifting. Gears has been a long-running Xbox flagship brand with a more or less dedicated player base. But honestly, that's it. The bottom line is that this franchise has a ceiling, and this game is unlikely to break it, no matter how good it sounds on paper. With the game announcing being on Game Pass from day one, it guarantees high engagement, but anything more? Unlikely. But hey, all that is just one producer's opinion. That's all I have for you so far, folks. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about all these games we've talked about. What is the game that you are personally looking forward to this year? And of course, clicking the like button helps this channel tremendously and brings you more and more interesting news each week. Subscribe if you're new, and thank you for making it this far. Have a great rest of the day, and that's Alex signing off for now. Cheers!